Apologies. The little button for the camera keeps disappearing on me.
Okay, I can see you now.
Thank you. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Can't see the chamber yet, but I'm sure I will when they...
Okay, good evening, councillors and members in the public gallery. I will officially open this evening's ordinary council meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you for your attendance tonight. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. Please note this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is announcements from the presiding member, and there are none this evening. Item 4 is attendance. We have Councillor Sutherland on a leave of absence, and Councillor Johnson has been approved to attend via electronic means. All other councillors are present in the chamber this evening. Applications for leave. Any councillors like to put in for leave? Councillor Osazowski.
Thank you. My application is for Monday, June the 23rd through to Friday, June the 27th, 2025, and that's to attend the ALGA conference.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved, Councillor Maleka, seconded, Councillor Palmer. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 5 is disclosures of interest. Councillors, any interest to disclose? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My first one is 10.3.2, the item which is Morley Noanda Rec Centre. It's an impartial interest as I am a social member. That's the first one. The second one is where it's also mentioned on 10.2.1, and that is the Morley Noanda Rec Centres again, and a social member on that one. And also 10.2.1, Silverwood Childcare Centre is mentioned there, and I'm the chair of the Bayswater Childcare Association, and that's impartial as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. For 10.2.1, financial report for period ended 30th of April 2025. Alice House aircon renewal is mentioned in the building minor capital works report. I'm a member of Alice House, so it's an impartial interest and I'll stay in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Eveson.
Yeah, mine's the same as the agenda briefing from last week. So it's 10.1.2, attachment 7, the financial report for the period ended April 2025.
Sorry, is that 10.2.1? I think you got it wrong.
Yeah, sorry, probably just scribbled it down wrong. Yeah, 10.2.1 it is. Yep, the
Yeah.
financial report. It's an impartial. I'm a member of the Morley Windmill Sports Club who lease a building at Watton Reserve, and there's a line item that mentions buildings at Watton Reserve. As I said, impartial. I'll be staying in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Osazowski.
Thank you. Mine is the same as Councillor Eveson's 10.2.1 financial report for the period ended 30 April 2025. The Watton Skate Park and surrounding facilities is mentioned in the attachments. I am a member of the Morley Windmill Sports Club who leases a building at Watton Reserve. It's an impartial interest and I'll be staying in the room.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to item 6, which is public question time. So members of the gallery, I'll first ask for questions on items on this evening's agenda, and then I will open to questions on items not on the agenda. Please provide your name and suburb before you ask your question, and keep in mind that you are limited to 3 questions. So would someone like to come up and ask a question on an item on this evening's agenda? Please come forward.
Aviv Silman from Naranda. I'm about 10.1.3, concepts for lot 100, 240 Walter Road, West Morley. My question is, in the report, you said there's a possibility that the redevelopment could go up to 18 stories, including some residential use for that new redevelopment. Can you guarantee it'll be 18 stories with at least some of those stories being residential use?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the CEO to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there's no guarantee at this stage that the height of the development will be 18 stories. It's just a concept design at this stage and very much high level.
Okay, that's the only question I had prepared right now.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question on this evening's agenda?
Aileen O'Rourke, Bayswater. 10.5.1.8, tree retention and provision of trees. I watched from home the meeting last week, the agenda briefing forum, and I was quite shocked at the Mayor at your questioning of one of the residents of Bayswater about the survey that was that we were talking about tree retention on private property. I felt that you were quite disrespectful.
What's your question, Miss O'Rourke?
My question, I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one, as Bayswater Tree Canopy Advocates is the only community group in Bayswater with the sole aim to increase tree canopy all over the city for the benefit of residents, do you support our group and the work we have done to date?
I'm not aware of all the work that you have done to date.
Do you support the work that you've seen that we've done in relation to council?
I haven't seen all the work that you have done in relation to council.
Okay. 65% of the hundreds of residents who respond to the survey indicated support for the new objective of the revised policy, noting that very few consultation processes attract such significant interest and response from residents. Do you consider this figure as a good indication that there is good support in the community to stop the terrible practice of developers clearing all mature trees as part of a subdivision and new developments?
I can go off the consultation figures. That's all I can go off.
So you have no opinion on its veracity?
On the veracity.
Well, of the community's response.
I understand the results of consultation.
Okay, thank you. Do you regard the letter sent out by Councillor Oster to the residents to encourage them to complete the survey as a lobbying letter, as you characterised our group's work and what we sent out and the leaflet we sent out?
I recall something from Councillor Ostrzowski being sent out, but I do not recall the contents of that.
Okay. So would you like to investigate whether that was a lobbying letter?
Well, would I like to investigate it? I don't understand. Thank you for your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to ask a question? Mr. Dyke.
David Dyke, Maylands. Item 11.2, notice of motion by Councillor Latta, dual naming of Barden Park with Mulgamongup. Question, has Council enough information on the local history and made contact with Landgate for dual naming process? I see there's a response. I'm happy with the response.
Would you like me to read it out?
Yeah, possibly,
Okay.
yeah.
So thank you for your question. The city has contacted Landgate regarding the proposed dual naming. They provided guidance on the process and advised they would be willing to provide further advice as needed. Information on the local history has been provided as a part of the recently completed place names project. Further information on the area will be welcomed as a part of the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question on an item on this evening's agenda?
Good evening, Wendy Garstone, Maylands. My first question relates to item 10.3.3 regarding tree canopy coverage target. Quick bit of background. In early 2024, in response to the tree canopy crisis in WA's urban areas, Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage initiated its greening strategy, and I understand it will be released this year. Its vision is to help make Perth cooler by increasing canopy. My question is, why is administration seeking to revise the tree canopy coverage target now, that is, before the release of the state greening strategy, and also prior to the implementation of prior to an implementation plan that we would expect from the state government on how their 30% by 2040 target can be achieved?
Thank you for your question. The city is seeking to revise the canopy target timeframe based on the latest survey data and projected growth and is applicable to the city's efforts locally. The city will consider the state greening strategy when available and determine whether further changes to the city's own targets will need to be further considered. And as you're aware, that item is going to be considered by council this evening.
Thank you. My second question is, about 25 years ago, Branka Radanovic first suggested to council that verge tree planting be made mandatory. And this is a step forward that Branka continues to advocate for. My question is, if mandatory verge tree planting had been adopted by council 25 years ago, as it was asked, can you estimate the contribution that that decision would have made towards today's tree canopy coverage?
Thank you for your question. The city estimates there would have been no change in overall canopy coverage. All allocated trees have been planted each year, regardless of whether residents have chosen to opt out from a verge tree. All opt-out trees have been planted in an alternative verge or location.
Okay, thank you. And my last question relates to item 10.5.1.8 regarding the tree retention policy. And quick background, part of Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage Greening Strategy webpage includes the following statement. Trees are recognised in the government's climate change response as a method to mitigate the urban heat island effect. Also, the Local Government Act of 2020 includes a mandate for councils to act on climate change. My question is, if the Bayswater Council this evening decides not to progress the tree retention policy and also to accept extending the canopy coverage target, how does the city intend to meet its obligations regarding mitigating climate change through tree canopy?
Thank you for your question. The city has developed an urban forest implementation plan which details the tree planting required to increase the city's canopy coverage. The city will continue its tree planting programs under this plan. The city's canopy projections suggest that the canopy coverage of 20% will be reached by 2035 and will be exceeded beyond then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Georgina Kerr, Bedford. This is in relation to item 10.5.1.8 in relation to the community engagement for this policy. I've had a read of the city's community...
Sorry, do you mind just stating what the title of that item?
Tree retention policy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I've had a read of the city's community engagement policy and strategy. Specifically in the strategy, it says that the responsibility of community and stakeholders includes to promote engagement opportunities and encourage participation among relevant networks. So given the line of questioning last week, is it not in the city's own strategy that community groups should be speaking to and reaching out to their networks?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the Chair, yes, the City does rely on community group networks to promote community engagement programs that we run.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
Good evening, Mayor, councillors and city officers. Dan West from Maylands. My question is in relation to 10.3.3. With the city's urban canopy going backwards, the majority of canopy being on private land and reduction of canopy on private land identified as the greatest threat to maintaining or growing canopy in the city. What is the city doing? Why is the city doing nothing about protecting canopy on private land?
Thank you for your question. Council will be considering a tree retention policy as part of the meeting agenda tonight, which is applicable to trees on private land. The city's canopy survey results indicate a slight reduction in canopy coverage between 2021 and 2024, which includes significant losses from state projects during that time. The city has been undertaking an extensive and unprecedented tree planting program since 2022, which is increasing the city's urban canopy.
I think the response here says, therefore the city's urban canopy is not going backwards. I would
Yes.
question that statement as whether it's actually factually correct, given the LiDAR data says that it is.
Sorry,
I'd question the factual accuracy of the response.
is that your second question?
No, I'm just questioning the
Okay.
response.
No, that's the response.
Okay. I'll be interested if that stays on the record.
Do you have another question?
I do, but not on that matter.
Oh, okay. You can ask it now though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, next question. And this follows up on from the annual general meeting of electors, and there was a question raised around offset planting for developments. How many development applications were submitted in the years 2023 and 2024 that exceeded a value of $100,000? Of those applications, how many had a supplemental condition of approval to require the planting of a standard tree to a minimum growth dimensions of 4 metres by 4 metres? Of those, how many developments have been inspected and verified that such a tree has been planted?
Thank you for your question. The city received a total of 526 development applications in 2023 and 653 development applications in 2024. The city's trees on private land and street verges policy applies to developments which exceed $100,000 in value of development for residential developments and $200,000 for non-residential developments. This equated to 201 applications in 2023 and 319 applications in 2024, exceeding the cost thresholds and may have been subject to the city's policy. The city is unable to provide the number of applications where a condition was applied. Compliance of conditions is undertaken in accordance with the city's development compliance management practice.
Thank you. One last question, again following on from the electors meeting, and it is in relation to the Riverside Gardens master plan. In response to my question at the annual electors meeting, the response was that it would be ready in April or May of 2025. I'm just looking to understand what the status is.
Thank you for your question. The master plan is currently being reviewed by internal stakeholders and is scheduled to be presented to the July 2025 Ordinary Council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question on an item on this evening's agenda? If not, I'll ask if there are questions not on the agenda. Please come forward, Mr. Dyke.
David Dyke, Maylands. The subject is my motions raised at the AGM regarding 16 days in WA and men's health. Question being, in view of the recent AFL suicides and increase of domestic violence in Eastern Region Perth, what has Council prepared and doing for local activities for both the 16 days in WA and men's health?
Thank you for your question. Council is continuing to support the 16 Days in WA campaign by lighting up the Civic Centre with a campaign light theme, coordinating social media posts and email signatures to raise awareness of the campaign, and continue to seek collaboration with agencies to promote awareness and education on the elimination of violence against women. The City is also currently in the process of developing a new public health and wellbeing plan, and consideration is being given towards increasing the focus on men's health.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Aviva Silman, Naranda. What is the city doing to address the housing crisis and make housing more affordable and rents more affordable in the city?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Thank you for the question. The City of Bayswater is currently undertaking a review of its local planning scheme, and that will hopefully progress to Council shortly. What a local planning scheme what it serves to do is reconsider our zonings across the city to establish where more housing can be applied alongside our local planning strategy. In terms of addressing affordability and also rental affordability, that somewhat falls out of the jurisdiction of what a local government can do. However, the city, through its planning processes, encourages any affordable developments that it can.
Yeah. With this review of our planning scheme, I'll have multiple questions, right?
One more, yeah.
Yeah, with this review of the planning scheme, do you have any plans to integrate, in addition to a higher density of housing in the city, do you have a plan to integrate shops? Because shops are at the bottom floor of these redeveloped, possible redevelopments in the zoning code.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Thank you. The city, under its current local planning scheme, does allow for mixed-use development. So mixed-use development is that commercial ground floor, first floor, and then residential apartments above. We do currently allow that, and that's typically located in our town centres and our activity centre of Morley. The local planning scheme seeks to modernise our scheme, aligned with what the state government model provisions are, and that's probably very complex. But in terms of that alignment, it will reduce some of the red tape around how we currently apply our framework, and hopefully enable more development in our town centres and activity centre aligned with what you're seeking.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? Please come forward.
Hi guys, Kevin Russell from Maylands. My question's regarding the Maylands Lakes Master Plan. I've noticed, first of all, I want to acknowledge your commitment to this initiative. It's been really, really good, and I believe in your sincerity. My concern is none of you have expertise by your own admission, neither do I and most of the community. And I noted at the last meeting that we held on the 15th of May, I directly asked Tony Webber whether there were, the application of FOSLOC and Alum were going to solve the problem, and he admitted that it was just kicking the can down the road. And there was no that wasn't documented in the minutes, so I'd like that on public record. So this leads me on to my real question. Have you considered alternative strategies to address this issue, such as nano bubble technology, which may potentially represent a bigger bang for your buck, because the alum and FOSLOC are potentially going to cost $450,000 annually. And I must admit, I don't know the costs associated with nano bubble technology. I don't know its effectiveness, but Tony Webber didn't inspire me with confidence, I have to be honest, about the effectiveness of his strategy. That's it, guys. That's all I want to state.
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair. So the process that Tony went through the consultant that worked on the project looked at a whole range of options. So there was something like 50 options that were looked at. They were run through a multi-criteria analysis to determine which of those options are viable and feasible to carry out. And it's been narrowed down to about 25 actions there, and it's put into 3 phases to deliver the project. So things like the nano bubble technology, that type of technology was considered through the process. It was considered through the SAP as well, the Scientific Advisory Panel. And so all those options were looked at. And what's been included in the master plan are all the best options that are considered that will bring change to those lakes and improvement to those lakes.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your response, guys. Yeah, see how it goes, huh?
Thanks, Mr. Russell. Please come forward.
Good evening, I'm Kate Barker from Bayswater. My questions are in relation to a motion that was raised at the AGM and it was discussed at the last Ordinary Council meeting on the 27th of April. In the minutes from the last Ordinary Council meeting, it is noted against the AGM motion number 11 that the reason for the change as compared to the motion that was passed at the AGM is that the implementation of a 40-kilometre-hour speed limit is a significant change that should be considered further by the council once traffic data analysis is available. Now, people in the council may be aware that over a 9-day period in this city, 2 children were hit by drivers on their way to school. One was hit by a driver in a truck near the Garrett Road and Guildford intersection. Another child was hit on the Watley Crescent Leake Street intersection, which is normally in school hours a manned intersection and is in a 40-kilometre-hour zone. That child was taken under lights and sirens to the hospital. Thankfully has not sustained any long-term injuries, physical injuries, because clearly it would have been quite a traumatic incident for the child. Now, I am struggling to understand how a 40-kilometre-hour speed reduction, safer streets reduction trial is considered a significant change when there are so many local governments, both in the metropolitan and regional areas of Western Australia, that are currently doing this.
So is that your question?
So if I could just finish, please, Mayor.
The question.
Our neighbouring councillor, our neighbouring
Ms. Bowker, you've repeated this information in deputations that you've done.
Yes,
We've heard this information. Can I please have your question? Tonight's public question time.
So the question is,
yes,
how, when all of our neighbouring LGAs are doing a 40-kilometre-hour trial, why is this council considering it a significant change when we've had 2 children hit by drivers?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, it is a matter that's been brought before council previously. We have provided information regarding that, and it is something that will probably be considered again in future at some stage by the council. So, yeah, that's all I can offer.
That's not quite answering my question of how
So
it's
we'll
a
take
significant
that on
change.
notice.
So I'd like to add, so the other councils that are doing this, all they're having to do is community engagement. That's all you have to do.
Thank you. Do you have another question?
I do. So yes, this council has considered 40-kilometre-hour speed reductions in the past. So in May 2021, this council considered a speed reduction around the Naranda Town Centre, which was actually from 40 to 60 kilometres an hour. And this was supported by 8 councillors, many of whom are still current councillors. There was another motion later on in that year, in the December 2021 Ordinary Council meeting, about speed reduction trials in Bedford, that again was supported by a number of councillors, many of whom are sitting today. So I would like to ask the Mayor, because you were present at both those meetings, and for the Naranda trial voted in favour of it, for the Bedford one voted against it. Why is Naranda Town Centre speed reduction more important than speed reduction on our local streets around schools? What's the difference?
Thank you for your question. I can't remember the item back in 2021 that you're referring to without actually looking back at it, but I do drive those Naranda streets every day. And I'm a bit confused because I don't think it is 40 kilometres in the town centre.
No, it's not. So you supported a motion to investigate dropping the speed limit from 60 to 40 kilometres an hour. So what I'm trying to understand is why yourself and many councillors here would support that around a town centre as compared to local streets.
So I would have to review. I don't recall the rationale behind that item now. You're asking me in 2025 about a decision in 2021 that you've given me no notice or asked me or sent me an email requesting that. You're asking me on the spot right now, and I don't have that
it
information.
in front of me if you'd like me to read it to you.
Well, no, I need time to think about that and go back and perhaps hear if I debated it or something like that. Reading it off your page isn't going to give me the context that I need.
Okay, no worries. If that can be taken as a question or notice, and I'm happy to provide it so it can be answered at the next meeting, that would be great. My third question is about, again, the motion 11. So the motion that was passed was about continuing the LCRS program. What I would like to understand is what is the financial cost of LCRS as opposed to a safer speeds trial to the city. So the Safer Speeds trial, as other councils are doing, you just have to do an engagement process. So what is the difference in cost?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question?
Branka Radanovic of Bayswater. My question refers to the last AGM. I asked a spontaneous question which was taken on notice, and I haven't received an answer, and I don't think I have found it in the minutes. So can somebody perhaps give me some information on where that went?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Thanks.
Through the chair, I'll need to take that on notice and go and have a look at what's happened with your question. You certainly don't have to wait for the minutes to come out or to be confirmed for the next AGM, so we'll make sure that we respond to you in writing if we've got your question. So I'll just check that with you after the meeting.
No, I think, if my memory serves me right, I think my question was, can it be identified how many residential verges with underground power are without a verge tree? So it was basically some statistics on that.
So we'll get back to you with a response.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? Please come forward.
Georgina Kerr, Bedford. First one is hopefully simple to answer. Why is there no longer a bike rack out the front of council chambers? I'm trying not to take it personally.
Thanks for your question. I'll go to the CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was having a conversation with the Director probably about 45 minutes ago, Georgina, in relation to that very same issue. And the Director gave me an answer that he was unaware as well. So we'll find out and then we'll get back to you and see where that's been placed.
Lovely, thank you. My last question is in relation to the Leake Street and Watley Crescent intersection, where we previously heard a child was recently hit by a driver while riding their bike. Sorry, it's been a long day. A resident has passed on to me that the Public Transport Authority had originally designed the bike boulevard to have a signalised crossing there, but the funds were reallocated. This resident has had conflicting answers from the PTA as to whether those funds are still available to potentially install a signalised crossing there. So is it possible for the city to clarify whether those funds are available?
So we can look into that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Cale Black, Bayswater. Councillors may have seen recent coverage regarding the decreasing rate of immunisation in the community and the risk this presents to herd immunity and public health objectives. I also note that published government data shows a decline of the rates of fully immunised children across the community, across multiple age groups, especially within the Bayswater area over the last number of years. I'm a father of a young child. This does concern me. Does the Mayor and Council share the concerns of the community regarding the decline of immunisation rates of young children in the City of Bayswater?
Thank you for your question. I haven't seen any of the data or statistics around that, so I don't feel that I'm able to respond to that question.
Thank you. What was the cost to the City of running the infant immunisation service prior to it being discontinued in 2022-23 budget? And what percentage of the overall budget does that amount equate to?
I'll go to the Director.
Thank you. When the immunisation program was being undertaken by the city, it was circa $144,000 per annum after receiving some external funding and grants. We expect that, potentially if it was in this time now, that price would have escalated and we would unsure as to whether we would receive external funding or grants.
Thank you. My last question, Mayor. Will the Council consider bringing back the funding for the immunisation service in the next Council budget to help address community public health concerns and provide families within the City, including those doing it tough, an accessible and affordable service for immunisation?
Thank you for your question. If you're referring to the next budget being the 25-26 budget, in the draft budget, I'll just have to check. I know, but I'm allowed to say that. It's not included.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so councillors, we've received questions in writing from 9 ratepayers this evening. The questions and responses are listed in your run sheet, some of which have been asked in person tonight, and I will take those as read. The questions and responses are also available on the City's website and will be provided in the minutes for this meeting. So I'll go on to item 7, which is confirmation of minutes. We'll move to confirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting for the 29th of April 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Osazowski. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 8 is presentations. Councillors, does anyone have a petition to table? Councillor Johnson. I think you're still muted.
My apologies, I can only unmute by ducking out of the app, so sorry. I hope you can hear me and see me still. Yeah, I do have a petition to table. I think there's a copy in the chambers. So this petition is regarding Riverside Gardens. There's a long cover letter which talks about how much people love Riverside Gardens. It says essentially the petitioners oppose the current plans to fence and reduce the current off-lead dog access and the complete eradication of access of the areas known as Shady Bank and Secret Beach at Bayswater's Riverside Garden. It says, please consider making changes to the plan to retain one of the key features of this beautiful park, and says a lot in between. The cover letter says a lot in between about the value of Riverside Gardens to the petitioners. The petition itself formally says, we the undersigning formally petition the City of Bayswater to address the following. We oppose the current plans to fence and reduce the current off-lead dog access and the complete eradication of access for dogs in Shady Bank and Secret Beach at Bayswater's Riverside Gardens. There's 2 petitions. One is signed by residents. There's 121 signatories in the formal format. There's another format for a petition that was started prior to that, which has 44 signatures on it. And there's an online petition that has signed by 63 residents and 650 non-residents of the City of Bayswater from suburbs all across Perth that represent the people that visit Riverside Gardens, essentially, you know, from Gosnells to Joondalup. We have another petition signed by 218 non-residents as well.
Sorry, Councillor Johnson, can you just confirm how many separate petitions that there are?
Oh, sorry. I've got two petitions, but I mean, one is the same petition. Sorry, my apologies. Just one is just separated out into residents and non-residents, just for ease of understanding it.
So, okay, so it's one petition that we're moving and voting on, correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right, just wanted to clarify that. And just to clarify, we don't actually have a copy in the chamber. The city has received it electronically, but there isn't a copy in the chamber. Just to clarify that point. Okay, so Councillor Johnson, are you moving that we accept the petition?
Yes, please.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sazowski? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous and the petition is tabled. Okay, so we move on to presentations. There are none this evening. Deputations, all deputations were heard at last week's agenda briefing forum. And delegates' reports, there are no reports this evening. So we move on to item 9, which is method of dealing with agenda business. And pulling first this evening is Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull 10.1.3.
Yep.
And 10.3.1. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Latta? No? Deputy Mayor?
10.5.1.8. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson? No? Councillor Maleka? Councillor Sazowski? Councillor Eveson? No? Okay. So we will now move to consideration of the reports in section 10. Can I please have a mover and seconder to bring forward items 10.3.3 and 10.5.1.8, which were subject to deputations? Councillor Palmer, you've got your microphone on, and Councillor Latta, you've got your microphone on.
I have a question to ask, but I can do it after.
Okay, so I'm just, to move this forward, can I have a mover and seconder? Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Eveson. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillor Latta, your question?
My question is there a way procedurally for us to deal with 10.5.1.8 first? Because the outcome of that vote influences my position on the other item.
I don't want to set a precedent that we do that. I don't want to set a precedent that we alter the
Can I not do a
movement.
procedural motion to bring it forward?
Just one second.
So the council's just taken a vote to move forward items
Yeah.
10.3.3. So you would have to take a different vote to change that position of council. Council's literally just voted on it.
So we've literally just voted on moving forward items 10.3.3 and 10.5.1.8.
I know, I did have my microphone on before that process began though.
I know, but that's the standard process when they're subject to deputations. We do ask to hear those ones first in the order of which, because otherwise, you know, councillors can try and change, you know.
I understand. It seems like a pretty specific situation though, where that item directly relates to. Amanda's saying I can't.
But so I'm going to say no, because I don't want to set a precedent that people are going to ask to move items around in future. So we go to item 10.3.3, tree canopy coverage target review, and nobody's pulled this one.
Oh, sorry, Madam Mayor. Sorry, just a procedural. So just to understand, Madam Mayor, so we can't move a procedural motion to bring a specific item before?
Deputy Mayor, I didn't say that a procedural motion was not allowed. I just explained the
Understand.
procedure,
So can I
and
move
no
a
procedural motion
I
was
understand.
moved.
Can I move a procedural motion, please?
We're on 10.3.3
Yes,
right
I would like
now.
to move a procedural motion to
Which
bring
is?
the other item
No,
10.5.18 before that.
No, so you'd have to move the item that's in front of us to either go behind it. You can't move a procedural motion when we're already on 10.3.3. But nobody's pulled this one.
Can I move a procedural motion to proceed to the next business?
That's a procedural motion that, yes, we can do that. Do you have a seconder? Deputy Mayor. You're able to talk to your procedural motion.
Sure. From my perspective, council's seriousness about tree canopy is really bound up with its willingness to consider protections for retaining trees on private land, which is 10.5.1.8. And so for me, and I think others on council, how council deals with 10.5.1.8 will determine certainly how I deal with 10.3.3. So that's why I would like to deal with this policy first.
Okay, so we're going to put that to the vote because it's a procedural motion. So all those in favour is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Sosowski, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson. All those against is Councillor Eveson and myself. So that is carried. So we now move on to item 10.5.1.8. And this has been pulled by the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I will move the officer's recommendation, sorry, the committee's recommendation, which is identical to the officer's recommendation with the amendment in the run sheet, which is identical to what the officers recommended us to amend.
In the addendum.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so councillors, you've all been provided with that. So I'm going to ask if there's a seconder. Councillor Latta, Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So councillors, we already discussed this issue around trees on private properties on several occasions in recent years. And we all know that the biggest reduction of trees in the city of Bayswater is on private property by far to other types of ownership. If it's city land or state government land, private property loss is the biggest by far. It is my view, and I mentioned it in the past, that and it's relevant to today, that no serious attempt has been done to date by our council, to address the issue, this issue, even though we have been talking about this for several years now. We tried a few things, different policies, we discussed it, there were debates, but nothing stopped the decline of trees on private properties, and we have been receiving the figures from our officers constantly. The policy before us with the revisions focus on developments and subdivisions. Single houses are excluded clearly from the policy. Nothing here. The new rules will not apply to the majority of property owners in the city of Bayswater, and I fully support that. And this is my intention was all along. We should target the biggest issue that is the cause for ignorant, if you want, tree removal in the city of Bayswater, which is developments and developers that clear the land together with buildings without any consideration whether some of the mature trees on those specific lots can actually be retained in the future by the future property owners that will have a house there or houses there. So the purpose of this, and I thank the officers for redrafting everything, the director and the manager, the whole team, for picking up what council asked and trying to achieve the best outcome to achieve that. And it's not easy. It's not easy because we needed to redraft some of the provisions from the WELGA policy model. We know that 65% of the hundreds of residents that provided comment in the consultation process around this policy supported the objectives behind it. And I would like to specifically remind councillors objective number 7 that we added to the policy, and this is mitigate the negative practice of clearing mature trees as part of subdivisions and new developments by promoting and facilitating tree preservation at the earliest possible stage in the planning and development process. And we came up with this after long discussions at the policy committee, and the community supported it by far. And I have not met many residents all across the city, and I've been speaking about this, that are telling me, yeah, developers should clear whatever they want to, it doesn't really matter. I have not heard. I had concerns about impact on ordinary property owners, and I shared that completely, and I mentioned that from day one. This is not the intention to deal with those issues. We are dealing with the problem around subdivisions and developments. So as I said, feedback from all around the city, all suburbs, people want to see and deal with this issue and stop ignoring it. And this is the best way to do this that we came up with. It's not a perfect policy. I'm sure there are loopholes that we will find along the way. I should mention that because we are creating something new here. And what we're talking about here is going to consultation, because there are so many changes here that we are required to go to consultation. That will give us more time to tweak any provisions if we see fit. And even later on, once council, and if council approves it now and later on, we can still review it, and I will support reviewing it on an annual basis if we want to, and see if we can improve it. If there are any problems, this is an ongoing process. This is the intention. And that's it. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. Councillor Latta.
Thank you. This motion is pretty straightforward, really. It's just to go to advertising. Again, it's not to adopt the policy, although given the feedback on the previous policy, I would be prepared to adopt this policy tonight. But I'm happy to hear again from the community, and I think that going to consultation will give residents clarity around the purpose of this. This is a much clearer policy for people to understand, I think. It targets subdivision and development very clearly without impacting property owners otherwise. And I think it's so clear from the community consultation and the conversations that I have with people in the community that this is this policy meets people's expectations. This is, I think, a significant compromise on the WELGA model tree policy. Significant. It, I think, addresses many of the key concerns that councillors raised in this chamber and in the policy committee about this policy. And I think that we have something that actually brings many of our different perspectives together and provides us a way forward to actually begin to look at how to encourage retention on private land in the case of development and subdivision. So I hope that we can go to advertising and hear again from our community about how much they support us taking this step.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
Not against, just a question, sorry.
Go ahead.
I do recall there was a question from Councillor Sazowski just regarding some further data from the survey, just some more detailed data. I don't recall getting it through this week. Did I miss an email perhaps?
I'll go to the manager to respond.
I understood that it was in the questions taken on notice from the ABF last week.
Thanks.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Johnson, is that your hand up? Is that your hand? Councillor Johnson, can you just give me a thumbs up if you want to speak? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, forgive me. I'm sorry. I have to jump out of the app to unmute my mic, so my apologies. Hopefully that works. Thank you. Look, I don't know if I'm for or against at this point. It's really disappointing that we don't have the Welga model tree policy in front of us, because that was the one that I think other councils are adopting and could do that. I understand the concerns from councillors and some residents, but to be honest, the only thing I ever hear spoken around this table and in the community is how much people want to protect the trees that we've got, how important it is to protect the mature trees, particularly on subdivisions, but around all developments. So I'm really torn on this, because personally, and from the people that I hear from, I don't think it goes anywhere near far enough. But if it's going to be better than nothing, then, like I said before, I'll support it if it's better than nothing. So I look forward to hearing what people have to say about it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Palmer.
Just very briefly, I think the actual title says it all: tree retention and provision of trees. We're trying our best, both the community and councillors and officers, to proceed with that. And we're not going to be perfect at it, but we're trying. So I'm happy to commend that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sazowski.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to the people who have been interested in the work that I've been doing in Central Ward to let the residents and ratepayers know about this policy coming to council. I absolutely support community groups, individuals getting out there and telling people what's on the table around this council table. That's also my job to do as well, and I've been elected to do that. The ratepayers in Central Ward during the last election round made it very clear to me, when I asked very specific questions about exactly this topic, how they felt about subdivisions, tree retention on subdivisions, and how they felt about private property trees and how they are to be dealt with by council, and if they're to even be dealt with by council. And the ratepayers, every single time bar one, told me that in regards to subdivisions, they think more can be done to retain trees on those blocks. So from Central Ward point of view, I would say residents do generally support that. When it comes to the private property rights, as it's been put, government overreach, as it's been put, residents in Central Ward expressed to me that they were very against the council having anything to do with how they managed their trees on their property. So I think in me going out and sending a letter to the ratepayers and residents, I was bringing to their attention an issue that they had highlighted with me during the election campaign, and it was part of the debate that they were specifically interested in. So I was fine in getting my letter out to make sure they were also having an opportunity to provide a response, not just in regards to the subdivision component, but also in regards to how their private property could be impacted and how they would be impacted in managing their own trees. So from this, we've actually seen the city having to rewrite the policy and to give a bit more consideration to what residents in Central Ward and other areas as well, I'm sure, were thinking about management of trees on their own private property. So I'm happy for this to go out for consultation again, and I'm happy for the people of Central Ward and all parts of the city of Bayswater to get involved again in the consultation, so that we can check if what we've now got on the table is more acceptable to them.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
Not against.
Councillor Maleka?
I just echo
the same sentiments as Councillor Ostaszewski, and also in reflection to what Councillor Latta said. Look, this policy is a good compromise. We're never going to please everyone. You know, it represents a balanced view and it's a measured approach. And I think it's something we need to send out to for consultation again, because we are trying to manage a shared environment. Again, we're not going to please everyone. It isn't perfect, but what I see, I think a lot of work's gone into trying to make that balanced approach. So I'm leaning towards supporting this as well.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Ostaszewski, you've already spoken.
Sorry, I know. I have a question.
You can ask a question.
Thank you. In regards to the consultation, can the city provide some information to councillors on how they may be doing the consultation this time, or will it be exactly the same as last time? Will there be learnings from the way the questions may have been interpreted last time? We've got a nod over here. Have there been some learnings, and will the city be asking the questions in a different way so that residents can be very clear on what they're responding to?
I'll go to the manager to respond.
Through the chair, yes, we will be taking exactly what you said on board about ensuring we word the questions in a way that they're understandable for the purpose of this. Given that it's a re-advertising process, the advertising will be focused on what changes it is to the policy, so it won't be focusing so much on the objectives, which we know people already support. It'll be on the specific changes. In general, it will be the same kind of process where it's online hard copy surveys at our city's libraries and civic centre. We will also send letters to all submitters advising them that it is open for consultation again, given that they've already showed an interest in it. And it'll be available through our social media channels, similar as previously.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I feel very positive. As I heard and I echo, it is the middle way. We do have in the community and around the table different views. Some want more, some want less. I think this is, as I heard and I echo, a balanced approach. It will send a great message to our community that we are serious in addressing it and we are going to look into the best way to do that. I echo the comments about the consultation. I think it can be improved, and I think that's we do need to also explain a bit more what we're doing, because the policy is quite confusing to an ordinary community member, and specifically highlighting the main thing here, that it excludes single houses. I think that should be explained clearly. I would like to thank all the residents that participated in this process, and specifically also to the Bayswater Urban Tree Network volunteers for their dedication. Thank you.
I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so we now go to item... Okay, so we've technically moved past item 10.3.3. So I'm going to move that we consider that item next. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eveson. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so nobody's pulled this item. Deputy Mayor, you're moving it? You're moving officer's recommendation?
With the amendments that I proposed in the run sheet.
Councillors, there are amendments in the run sheet. Do I have a seconder?
Can I second it with further amendments or no?
If they're acceptable to the mover.
Okay, I'll give him a second to have a look.
And Deputy Mayor, just confirming that these amendments are new limbs. So it's the officer's recommendation and then additional limbs for each of these amendments. Because you've got here, you've got with a new, you've got words be added to limb 1, then you've got a new limb, and then you've got a new limb. So you're happy for them to be like number, I'll just have
So
to
I'm
get
just looking for mine. Sorry,
number 4 and 5, the two new ones.
So I can actually see mine on the one sheet that I have here in front of me. So 1 second. Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Yes, everything with all the changes that I proposed. So I think the officers have...
Okay, so that's the substantive what you're moving.
Yes.
So it's the officer's recommendation with 2 additional limbs and words added to the end of limb 1. So we'll just get that on the screen.
Yes.
And Councillor Latta has asked for additional amendments as well. And we're going to have to type them in, so it might be a moment.
Can I just ask a question about the process, please?
Yes?
Yeah, because I can't see what's being typed on the screen, so I'm wondering if you
We're
have
going to
read that out
we're going to send it to you, Councillor Johnson, so you can see it as well.
Thank you.
I also have a question.
Yeah.
If the mover doesn't want to accept one of my limbs, do I have the option to see if somebody else? No.
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
My advice would be to move that as an amendment once debate has
Can the
started.
seconder do that?
Not.
No.
I can't do it as a
No.
seconder.
Yeah, so I advise Councillor that so because I have so many amendments, not so many, I have several amendments, I prefer that we will debate separately her amendments.
All of them?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so none of them are included?
From her.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
So it's just the Deputy Mayor's amendments to be in the substantive motion.
Which means you'll need a different seconder.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Palmer is seconding.
I think in the run sheet that provided to councillors, you can see the whole thing.
Yes, but we just need to format them properly so we know.
Okay.
And Councillor Johnson hasn't got a we have to give it to her. Councillor Johnson. They were emailed. Okay. Councillor Johnson, can you see the screen now?
No.
Have we emailed them?
I haven't received the email. Is it just the Deputy Mayor's amendments as per the run sheet?
Correct.
Been added to it?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So, Deputy Mayor, go ahead. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so thank you. So I'm moving the officer's accommodation with those amendments as you see in red on the screen. I'll speak on the item and then I'll specifically mention those amendments. About changing the tree canopy target, I can't say I'm happy about pushing that away again. However, I am going to support it tonight because I do think, and the community should know and note, that more effort is being invested in this area, significant more effort. and there is, and that's included in the item, a robust planting plan, which is much more significant that I've seen in previous years. So I do have the more confidence that hopefully now we are on the right track to meet the tree canopy target, even if it's pushed a little bit away, and we are on the way to do this right and a very robust approach. With regards to the amendments, which I find them crucial to support the whole item, LIB 1, I think the middle term targets that I proposed to Council several years ago should still be there with those adjustments in accordance with the new target. I think that's crucial. I wouldn't want to support a target in 10 years' time when most of us will not be here. So from an accountability and transparency, I think we should put some targets there for us to measure and for the community to check us that we are on the right track. So, and those middle-term targets are in accordance with the projections of the city with regards to what they are predicting that we will see the increases in tree canopy. So it's in accordance with that. LIB 4 is a small change to the planting table that you see in the agenda with regards to the massive planting program. Currently, it mentions that we will focus for a few years in some zones, and I think that won't be the ideal situation where some suburbs will not see any significant tree planting for maybe 10 years. Morley, Maylands and Bedford and others. I think from a more equal and from more community perspective, so people can see that we are addressing all suburbs, I'm suggesting that we'll just do it on a rotation basis. So there is no change to the amounts here, just to how we divide the table. And number 5 is asking for a trial for the use of tree watering bags. I've become aware of that different places have been using this, and it was quite successful to deal with water waste, which is an issue that many residents complaining about, that when we water some of their veg trees, they can see all the water just spills on the road. So those bags are supposed to allow for slow sipping of water, especially in summer when those trees are struggling. So this will be interesting to see if the trial will provide some good outcomes in our city. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to second this, and I do like the fact that instead of having one date for 20%, that we're doing this step by step. It allows council and councillors and officers to see the targeting progress as it proceeds, and that is so important to have a foot in the door on all of that. I'm also quite pleased of number 5, which is the water bags. This is only a trial, so we are sort of in that dry area, but half of it will be winter. So giving it till mid-2026 will allow us to get a better picture of that. So I'm hoping that it can be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Eveson?
Not against again, sorry. Just a question. I'm trying to understand. So this is what's on the table?
Yes, that's what's on the table.
Okay. Right. I've probably got some questions, only because I've only seen this since it's about 6:30 when I sat down, because we didn't get the run sheet till late. So I've probably just got some questions of the city, if I can, please, just to understand the implications. So why has the city opted for the officer's recommendation as opposed to this one, which is mixing zones? I sort of felt like that was, mixing of zones. I guess I'm trying to understand the impact of that, because I understand how a program was built.
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, the program as presented in the officer's report was prepared by officers. They looked at the LiDAR information to understand which areas required more tree canopy, So the program was developed around that, and it was also developed around the fact that we want to try and bulk plant as much as possible, try and keep the plantings together, which produces efficiencies in terms of putting those trees in the ground, and also in terms of the 3-year watering that's undertaken. So if we can keep those zones together as close as possible, means there's less travel, less issues in terms of watering those trees over that 3-year period. So that's why some of those zones have extended over multiple years, because there's a lot of trees to be planted in those zones, and we tried to keep them together across consecutive years to make sure that we get maximum efficiency out of that watering program.
Thank you. Just follow up, like I mentioned, because just want to make sure, especially when there's other discussion. But so what I'm hearing that other strategies were considered, but the officer's recommendation is the best, is an optimised way to get maximum tree planting in and ensure that tree watering can be done efficiently to ensure that the trees survive and thrive. Is that correct?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, that's correct. We have a tree services team that has done a lot of work on this process and programming to make sure that we do get the maximum efficiency out of it.
So would there be, from what's proposed with chopping and changing zones, is there going to be other costs now potentially? I'm just trying to think of other unintended consequences perhaps. So would it be operational cost changes? Have we got contractors as part of that plan? That's as I understood that we do. If this alternative was supported, so is there cost implications that we may not be aware of yet that may not have been clear?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, if you spread planting across the city, there are increased costs because of the increased travel that's required in terms of watering those trees. So if you've got to go from one end of the city to the other, there's obviously travel time incorporated. So the closer the trees are together, it is more cost effective.
And probably just one that was from the ABF. So if residents are concerned about not getting a tree for a long period of time, so there was in the program, what do they have options? Can they do something about that if they're not in the program for, in next year or the year after and they wanted it sooner?
Through the chair, I mean, there is a component in the program where people can request a tree. So they can, doesn't matter where they live in the city, they can request a tree and we'll plant that tree in the first winter after their request.
Did you want to speak to it? Okay. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Latta?
I just have a question about the middle term targets, given that so much of this program and target is kind of reverse engineered based on what we can achieve. Are the midterm targets something that the city thinks we could achieve with this program?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, as you know, city officers have undertaken some projections across the 10-year period, and in terms of the numbers that have been put forward, 15.5% is probably slightly higher than what the projections show, but the other targets are within range, yes.
Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Latta?
Yeah, look, I want to propose two amendments. Can I do them separately or together?
You can do it separately.
Sure, I'm happy to do them separately. The first one is to include a limb, which is limb 3 in my alternative, to include the planting of underground power program project areas into the urban infill street tree planting program to be undertaken within 2 years after the completion of the project.
I'll just ask the mover and seconder if they accept that amendment as part of the substantive.
Sorry. As I mentioned before, I think I wouldn't want people. I think it should require a debate.
So you don't accept it?
No.
Okay. So I'll just ask if there. Would you like to debate it?
Sure.
I'll ask if there's a seconder. Councillor Johnson, Councillor Latta, go ahead.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, sorry to interrupt. I have a declaration that I will need to make now, I believe, because of this
Okay.
amendment, please.
I think it's sufficiently general, but
Yes, thank you. I'll make the declaration anyway. The amendment talks about the councillor has just mentioned the targeted underground power program, and my home is in one of those targeted areas. I'm satisfied from information that I have from the department that I have an interest in common in things to do with underground power at this stage. However, my declaration may need to change in the future. So for now, it's an impartial interest, and I'll be staying here in the room.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'll go to Councillor Latta to debate on the amendment.
sure. It's just, I think, common sense that one of the benefits of underground power for residents is the tree canopy improvements that they can see. It's an excellent opportunity to plant trees that can grow their full canopy, which takes time. I don't see any benefit to the city of postponing the planting of those trees. In the case of the officer's recommendation in that table, in Maylands where we have just had underground power put in, it would be 7 years before trees get planted through an infill program. So I just think that that's too long to wait. It makes sense to do it sooner and get the benefits of that tree canopy sooner. And I think that should happen wherever we roll out underground power in the city.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise, it's absolutely the expectation of residents when they get underground power, and the expectation of us when we advocate for underground power, that it does enable trees to grow. So seems a bit daft to spend all that money and not have the trees growing. I think it should entirely be part of the project. And if I heard the director, if I heard correctly what the director said before about the cost of watering, I mean, each underground power project is in a discrete area, so I think that the cost of transport of the water could be, sort of mitigated or at least justified through discrete areas.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Anyone wish to speak for the amendment? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Oh, sorry, I thought I saw your hand up. Sorry. Can we take that vote again? All those in favour of the amendment?
Sorry, my apologies. Excuse me, councillors, just to make sure I know where I'm at with what we're doing here. So the amendment is everything that's in red there?
No, the amendment is just Councillor Latta's
Just
amendment,
that part at the bottom there.
which is an additional limb, number 6. That's the amendment we're voting on now, is just to be included.
Into that, okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to take that vote again. All those in favour of including that amendment into the substantive motion? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against is Councillor Ostaszewski. So that is now part of the substantive motion. Councillor Latta, would you like to move your second amendment?
Yes, please. My second amendment requests the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO, to review the city's urban forest strategy, its targets and associated programs against the state's urban greening strategy when the strategy is released and further information is available, and present a report to council on any recommended changes to the city's strategy, targets and programs, and to engage in advocacy with the state government for the City of Bayswater's urban tree canopy needs.
I'm going to ask the mover and seconder. I know the mover's already indicated, but I have to ask. Do you accept it? No. Okay. So, Councillor Latta, we're going to go to debate. Do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Johnson. Councillor Latta.
Thank you. As we know from the previous LIDAR survey, the state government has a big impact. State government land has a big impact on whether or not our canopy targets can be met in the City of Bayswater. It doesn't make any sense to me to proceed with a standalone City of Bayswater target that doesn't connect in some way to the state government's urban greening strategy. they have announced a 30% target by 2040, which is, I think, much more ambitious than what we are proposing for ourselves. And I want to know if, through engagement with the state government, perhaps it's possible for support from the state government to enable us to be more ambitious with our target in the future and to be more supported. I also want to make sure when the state government is working out how it will implement and achieve its target, that it doesn't just think about the easy ways in the outskirts of the Perth metro area to improve tree canopy, but also thinks about places like the city of Bayswater. And so this makes sure that the CEO is putting that to the state government and demonstrating what our needs are.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Can I just clarify, is the amendment that we're debating the complete number 5 that was in the run sheet? Because I can't see it on the screen.
Councillor,
Points A and B.
yeah, there is A and B that was moved by Councillor Latta. And it is on the screen. I understand you can't see it, but yes.
Correct. All right, awesome. Thank you very much for clarifying. Yeah, we advocated to the state government to set targets of 30% canopy, and the state government adopted that adopted those targets. And my understanding is this strategy they're rolling out is going to go some way towards how we can all implement those targets. I think there will be work for state and local governments and communities in this space. So it makes 100% sense to be looking at what changes that we can do, but particularly Limb B, the advocacy with the state government for the City of Bayswater's urban canopy needs. I mean, we can only hope that when the state releases the urban greening strategy, it will come with bucket loads of money for actual trees that will actually be planted. So, it makes sense for us to be advocating in this space as we have been. But particularly around this strategy. So I think it's a useful addition to all the work that we can do to increase our canopy.
Thank you. So
can I just note that there's a typo in the...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Where?
Information is just spelled incorrectly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. We'll fix that up. So, councillors, would anyone like to speak against this amendment? Anyone wish to speak for this amendment? Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, I really do agree with this. It widens the door to state government support financially and progressively for the greening strategy. And I think it would have been there, I'm sure, within the council and officers' remit next year or the year after. But I think it's really good to state this here. And also to mention the advocacy, not just assume it. So it just covers those two bases, and that's all it's doing. And I think it's a good thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Anyone wish to speak for the amendment? If not, I'll go to the mover to close.
Don't have anything to add.
Okay, so I'm now putting the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Maleka, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against is Councillor Ostaszewski. So that amendment is now part of the substantive motion that we have in front of us. So we're now going back to debate the substantive motion. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Eason?
Look, I will, and I'll actually foreshadow Councillor Latta's alternative, which is in the run sheet, if I can, please.
Okay.
Cool, thank you. So I did ask some questions around the operational impacts, and I'm probably not satisfied that some of these changes that were in Councillor Peterson-Pick's part of this now amalgamated motion are addressed. I'm quite concerned about the operational impacts, and I would have liked to have supported actually Councillor Latta's amendments on their own, which is why I'm foreshadowing. So I think this program was devised to deliver trees efficiently, effectively, and to try and retain as many, because we do get losses along the way. So I think any deviations, it's probably been brushed over a little bit that you start pulling pieces out and then changing them, it actually changes the program quite significantly, probably more than some people understand. I've helped develop programs for maintaining assets, and it's sorts of a shift from a zone strategy into an ad hoc strategy to an extent, which does provide a lot more running around for the execution teams to get the same outcome. What does that all mean? It means it costs more, and your chances are that you'll get more failures. So I think I've seen in real time from the city's planting strategy over time, and it's in the report in the current agenda item, that when the city has a clear plan and a strategy and council says, yep, get on with it, they get on with it and they deliver trees in the ground, and we see Canopy move forward in that way. So that's the reason why I'm probably not going to support, I guess, this merged item. And as I mentioned, I'm very comfortable with all the effort that the city has done. We've seen Green Dreams, we've seen lots and lots of different ways which have all been wrapped up into this program. And I'm very confident that the city has involved the people that are filling their boots, getting these trees in the ground to make sure that it's executable. So that's the part that I am really confident in, and that's probably why I'm feeling quite strongly to foreshadow another alternative. That's probably it for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Latta.
I'll speak on the motion. I came into this chamber not knowing if I would support it or not, and I guess I want to talk about why I feel uneasy with it, and the pros and cons that I'm seeing. I feel uneasy with extending the time frame out for our target, because that kind of reverse engineered target is actually a reflection of the will of council. And I think that that's kind of a little bit buried in this process. The fact that we do set the budget that is available for a tree planting program, we can set that direction, we can set that ambition. And perhaps it doesn't need to be a $14 million program. Perhaps it could be something more ambitious and not quite as ambitious. So I suppose I feel uneasy about the way that is not explicit, and it feels a little bit like building in and accepting decisions that have been made in the past and removing the imagination and ambition from it. So that's what I have struggled with in thinking about this motion. However, I have tried to come up with some constructive ways to think about this more positively, to reach out to the state government and try to think about this more as a partnership, also to include underground power planting, because I think that will meet residents' expectations. And I guess I also want to just speak to the unease that Councillor Eveson just mentioned about the Deputy Mayor's proposal to shift to a rotating basis for the zoned planting, and ask you to reconsider that, because some of these areas that are going to be waiting 7 or 8 years for another targeted planting are the biggest champions of tree canopy in our district. And these are the areas where having to wait this long is going to be felt significantly by the community and will shape community attitudes towards our tree planting program. These people are our biggest champions around tree planting, and I want to keep it that way. And I think that asking them to wait an unreasonable amount of time to experience that in their own local areas will jeopardise that. And so I actually think that shift to the rotating basis is a positive one. I think that possibly there are some efficiencies that are lost, but I think it's worth it for the reputational outcome and bringing community that are already with us along with us, rather than leaving them off to the side to wait for their next opportunity. So I think that there are really strong community benefits to adopting that. It wasn't my proposal, but I really see the benefit of it. The midterm targets, I don't know how useful they are, but I'm willing to go with it, and I think they align with the 2027 one. Certainly aligns with our next LIDAR report, so I think that's useful. And I think that, yeah, I still don't really know. I think I would like to support this, but I would also like to hear from councillors about how they want to support this, because I think one of the biggest challenges that we face in the city of Bayswater is that we do not speak with one voice on trees. It is frequently a point of conflict between councillors and on council, and I think that that's to the detriment of our district and our community. And so I would really like to hear from councillors how, if they feel supportive of this, if you're willing to bring this decision into your community and support tree planting in your interactions with residents, support tree retention in your interactions with residents, because actually I think that that is what we need. We need a whole council approach from councillors.
Councillor Latta, you've hit 5 minutes. Can you?
Sure. That brings the community with us, because otherwise it's always going to be a point of conflict. And I think that we all see the benefits and understand the benefits of increased tree canopy. We understand what that means for the urban heat island effect. We understand what that means for climate change and our resilience as a community. So let's put that sentiment into action in the way that we talk about it with our community.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Johnson, is that you? Yep.
Sorry, I think it's probably against.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I think what Councillor Latta said is right, that, you know, our council and our community does want to see the work that we can do to increase canopy resilience, urban cooling. And it's not just us, the councils back in 2014 wanted a 20% canopy, in 2015, in 2017. I'm opposed watering down the targets, because it sounded reasonable in 2014 when we had a 13.2% canopy. Here we are, 11 years later, it's gone up, it's gone down, not by much, by fractions. We're now at 14.48%. This is when we were going to be at 20%. We haven't got there. And I think we need to be transparent about the reasons that we haven't got there. Is we haven't implemented the things that we've been told would increase our canopy. I think council needs to be held accountable for the decisions that we're making about not spending, the money that it's going to take to increase our tree canopy. We need to be held accountable for not protecting trees on private property. We need to be held accountable, and the state government as well needs to be held accountable for chopping down the trees on the properties that we manage. We need to be held accountable for not planting all of the verges. I mean, they're the decisions of council. Increasingly, we have, from our administration and from our staff, we have more and more sophisticated reports, approaches to tree planting and growing and maintenance regimes, particularly the maintenance. I think that, and they have been decisions of council about supported by the administration. We are doing better at maintaining. We are battling climate change, and how difficult it makes us to achieve the increase in the planting survival rates. And I think we just need to acknowledge that. We just need to be able to say, we have our target. We didn't achieve it because, and hold ourselves and accountable for the things that we're not doing to achieve the tree canopy targets. We advocated, like I said previously, we advocated to the state government to set a target of 30% because that's what we know we need for human health and climate resilience. And I mean, you know, our target is not even that yet. Our target is only 20%. We haven't increased our target to 30% yet. So I think we all need to be accountable for the decisions that we're making around this, which is why essentially, although the report, you know, talks about lots of things that we can do and the amendments that we've got on the table talk about, you know, maybe practical ways of achieving this and some outlining some ways forward. I can't support watering down to targets because we need to be held accountable for not achieving them.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for?
Sorry, there's just another typo in 7B with.
Yep, we'll fix those typos. What are you doing? Okay. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll go to the mover to close.
Thank you. Look, the only thing I just would like to request, Madam Mayor, if we can separate Limb 4 to a separate vote, just in light of the comments from Councillor Eveson. So that's the only limb that I had comments about. So if we can separate that to a different vote. Thank you. Otherwise, I will have to move all those amendments one by one later on. So if that was the only concern, I'm happy to separate it.
Just let me work out how I'm going to put this vote.
You could put the vote for limbs, all 1, 2, 3, 4. Was it, sorry, which one was it? 4?
It's 4.
1 to 3 and 5 to 6.
Okay, so councillors, I'm going to accept the request by the Deputy Mayor to vote on Limb 4 separately. But can I just?
Someone please read Limb 4 so I can be sure which one it is being.
I'm going to do that one first. I'm going to do Limb 4 first, and then we'll vote the other one. So, Councillor Johnson, for in response to your query, Limb 4 is request the Chief Executive Officer to amend the proposed urban forest. You know that one? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put that limb to the vote first. I'm going to put that limb to the vote first. All those in favour of this limb is Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta and the Deputy Mayor. All those against is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Johnson and myself. That limb is lost. And now I'm going to put to the vote limbs 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7 to the vote. Oh, no, we're going to change the numbering. We have to change the... Oh, no, we don't change the numbering yet because that has to show in the minutes as being voted on. Okay, so I'm going to repeat. We're putting limbs 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7 to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta and the Deputy Mayor. All those against is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Johnson and myself. That is lost. We now go to the foreshadowed motion. So Councillor Eveson, from what you said, that is what the Councillor Latta's...
Sorry, yes, in the run sheet.
In the run sheet.
Just verbatim in the run sheet, yep.
Okay.
Without the typos maybe, but sorry.
So councillors, you have that. You have that in front of you now. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Eveson.
Okay. Look, as I mentioned, look, and I'm moving another councillor's alternative, so there you go. But look, I feel this is a very practical way forward. There was elements in the other one which I wasn't comfortable with. Anyway, I'll stick with this one. So I'm confident in the city and the city's team, all the consultants that we've had along the way that have fed into the various strategies that I've seen in the time I've been on council, which would be culminated in, I guess, this final outcome. It's an efficient and a cost-effective manner. As I mentioned, it's a best bang for buck, but it's about trees in the ground and keeping them alive and getting them established and thriving. Given the receipt of responses and confirmation that the zoned approach they've worked on for many months, it's most efficient and effective. This is the way that I would be very comfortable to move forward, and I really hope that council support me on this. We do need to move forward in a united fashion. It is proven time and time again when we do that, trees get in the ground and our canopy moves forward. So probably just addressing some of the points that were raised in the previous item. I do agree with extending the target because once I guess some numbers were done behind the scenes around how to deliver that target, it was not possible without significant budget. And even then limitations on trees. There's just no way that you were going to get that many trees. They're just not available. So targets can be aspirational, but completely unachievable, I think, is sending the wrong message to our community. So I want to have a target that we know is realistic, sets expectation, is achievable and moves us in the right direction, tick, tick, tick. Interestingly, I see the zoning as, there was some feedback around other opportunities. Fantastic. The state government has pledged a whole bunch of money to plant more trees. We've now got a really great plan that says where we want the trees, in zones, across all the suburbs, shovel-ready project. Perfect. That's how I see this. So we'll do what we can with the budget that we've got and the people and machinery and equipment that we have. And then absolutely the state government can come forward and as per LIMS 5 and 6 and top us up and get in there and plant those trees for us and look after them too. That'd be lovely. A lot more money, 14 million I think was the number to do it all. They've got a lot more than that, so hopefully we can get a bit of that. So, and I guess just rounding out with regards to the reporting, we are monitoring this. It's on the website. People can check it. The LiDARs will be updated. It's reported in audit and risk in regards to the tree canopy value. So I'm very comfortable that anybody at any time at any council meeting can raise a question and say what's happening with this, and then they could do a petition, and that would trigger a reevaluation of where we're going if they see it trending the wrong way. So look, I'm very comfortable with this one, probably more than I ever have been, and thanks to the city and all the staff consultants that have helped put it together.
Thank you. Councillor Ostaszewski.
Thank you, Councillor Eveson. Thank you for your words just then. I have absolutely nothing extra to add. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against this? Anyone, Deputy Mayor?
Just to move amendments, please.
What's the amendment, Deputy Mayor?
So I would like to move my first amendment from the run sheet.
No, that's not permitted.
I am allowed to.
No.
They're separate amendments.
It was already voted on, Deputy Mayor.
The whole thing was voted on.
Those amendments have already been voted on.
Can we please get advice from the manager for governance? Thank you.
So I'll go to the manager of governance.
Because I do not recall that we voted specifically on that amendment.
That is exactly what you're trying to add.
No, I'm just adding one aspect from one amendment from the whole motion that we previously voted.
That was previously voted.
The whole thing was voted, not just that amendment that I'm moving.
Which one?
Which is a revision to LIMB 1 to add
the middle term
targets.
Yes. So I'm just going to seek advice.
It's not the same motion.
If that would be added to LIMB 1, if it's the same.
So generally, we wouldn't allow an individual amendment to be moved again if they've already been lost, but because they were moved en bloc, it's hard to know, apart from LIMB 4, we don't know.
Okay. So the advice is LIMB 4 will not be able to be included, but because we didn't vote individually on that limb, that one you can seek to move an amendment.
Thank you. So I'm allowed to. So yes, I would like to move the amendment to LIMB 1 to add the new middle term targets of 15.5% by July 2027, 17% by July 2030, and 18.5% by July 2033.
Okay, so I'll ask the mover and seconder if they accept those.
No, thank you.
No. So I'm going to ask if you'd like to debate that.
A seconder, yes.
You'd like to debate it?
Of course.
Seconded by Councillor Latta. Deputy Mayor.
Yes. Look, I think it is the dream of every politician to have a target 10 years away from their term, knowing that most likely they will not be needed to be accountable to their communities, whether they meet the target or not. So we previously had the previous council, and I think that previous council supported middle-term targets, and I hope that the current council will also support this accountability measure with regards to tree canopy to show that we are serious and we're not just deferring it to the very, very far future. And those middle-term targets are exactly in accordance, or more or less in accordance, with the projections of the growth of tree canopy that we received from the city. So it is based on that. But it means that in 2 years, when we do the assessment of trees, we can all come and see how close we are to that target, and not defer our accountability to 2035. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Latter.
Yeah, look, there's no additional cost associated with this target. It's a really simple additional measure that gives us points along the way to determine whether we are on track or not. And the city has already said that under this program, it's likely that we will meet certainly the second and third, and possibly the first. That feels like a target that is maybe ever so slightly ambitious, but very reachable, which sounds like the perfect kind of midterm target to have. But most of all, I think that we have an opportunity here to bring somebody else along, and it doesn't really affect the substantive part of this motion. So I don't know why we wouldn't do that and try to work together and try to find a compromise way forward. And I think that we are all, grown up enough to try to do that. So, I mean, I hope so. I hope that we can find a way for the largest amount of councillors to support this motion.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think with that addition, as I said before, it does keep your foot in the door of what is actually being progressed, and everything that Councillor Latter and everyone has said, I agree with. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Johnson.
I mean, I think likewise, I would not want to support reducing our canopy, although I do acknowledge the practical point of having interim targets.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Zdowski.
Thank you. The report that came to us is very comprehensive, and we know that the city does so much work in this space around trees. Councillor Latter mentioned before that it is most likely that the city will reach its first, second and third target. So we're happy that we're probably going to reach those anyway. So why not focus on the next target, which is the one in 10 years' time, the 2035. And I have enough faith in the organisation because of the amount of work that I see here and the amount of discussions that we have with the city staff, that they are doing everything they can do with the budget that they've got to be able to reach the targets here. So in regards to this amendment, no, I won't be supporting that.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for the amendment? Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll go to the mover to close. Nothing? Okay, so I'm putting this amendment as what's on the screen to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latter and the Deputy Mayor. All those against is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostaszewski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Johnson and myself. That is lost. So we're now back to the substantive motion.
Yes, thank you.
Deputy
I would
Mayor.
like to move another amendment, which is the third one in the run sheet, with regards to the tree watering bags.
Okay. Do we have does the mover and seconder accept that amendment? No. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? No, that is lapsed, Deputy Mayor. So we're now back to the substantive motion. So the substantive motion, anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to the mover. Oh, sorry, Councillor Johnson.
Sorry, I do want to speak on the item.
Okay, I'll go to Councillor Johnson first.
Sorry, just a question. When we come to move this one, are we able to move Lim 1 separately?
Sure,
Thank you.
I'm happy to do that. Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I'll just be quick. So I won't support the item tonight after all. And from what I see now, it's not only trying to push the goalpost of our canopy by 5 years, but now I understand that it is also an attempt to remove the middle term targets that the previous council supported, and it is in our tree planting policy. So for that, I cannot support.
Thank you. Anyone wish to, Councillor Latta?
Yeah, I feel disappointed by how this debate has gone. I think that we had an opportunity to all contribute to the outcome tonight, and councillors have chosen not to do that. And so whilst I'm pleased you have adopted the aspects that I wanted in it, I'm really disappointed that the Deputy Mayor's amendments weren't considered properly. I think that
Point of order.
Yeah.
This is an adverse reflection on council decisions.
So you withdraw that comment?
Sure. That councillors chose not to seek compromise with other councillors who had strong views on this issue. That's disappointing for me and brings me all the way back to not being sure how I feel about it. I just think that we have an opportunity every time we have a tree item before council, we have an opportunity to move this district forward in a positive direction, knowing that all of our residents care.
Reflection.
Point of order, Councillor Eason. Councillor Latta, an adverse reflection of council.
What did I say that was an adverse reflection? I said
Councillor
every
Eason?
time we talk about trees, we have an
Councillor-
opportunity.
Yeah, it's making a derogatory comment at council.
She said going backwards.
Yes, correct.
So it's upheld.
I'm sorry, I'm
Do you
unclear
withdraw?
what I said.
Oh my good. Deputy Mayor, there are standing orders in which everyone around this table has to follow.
Do you know what? I don't need to speak. Whatever, let's.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to speak for this motion, and I'm really wanting to focus on the positives of what this has. So I want to refer councillors to page 229 of the report. 229 shows our tree planting data since 2018 and the total numbers of trees planted by the City of Bayswater. So let's have a look at what the facts and the data show. 2018, the total number of trees planted was 1,235. In 2019, the total number of trees planted was 1,204. In 2020, the total number of trees planted was 1,618. And in 2021, the total number of trees planted was 1,292. Okay figures. But then we get to 2022. And that goes, that is more than double the previous year. We plant 3,014 trees. Then we get to 2023 and we get to 5,002 trees. And then in 2024, we plant 2,600 trees. So if you combine the 3 years, we have more than doubled the previous 4 years. That is outstanding work and leadership by this council and this city. And I'm very proud of the direction that this council has got on tree planting and addressing tree canopy. So well done to everyone who's made that a reality in this city. These targets have been worked on by professionals and experts who have done so much work to do the projections and the modelling and tell us what's achievable, what's actually achievable within our resources, financial as well as personnel. And let's not forget about reallocations. Okay? We don't have unlimited water allocations. Each year, we get less and less from the state government without water. So perhaps, that's another thing we can advocate to the state government about, but they want to limit water usage. Trees need water to survive, which we've been hearing from our community as well. So we need to have realistic targets, because when we don't set realistic targets and we put these unrealistic targets, which we know aren't achievable, and that's why I didn't support the midterm things, because a question was asked to the director about the 15.5 in 2027, and he answered tonight that that is not achievable. So what do? We're going to set it anyway, and then we're going to hear commentary in the future, like we heard tonight, going, we had these targets and it's what we did was wrong.
Point of order. I don't remember that what was what the director said, that it's not achievable. So I think it was not factually correct.
I'll withdraw that comment.
What did he say? That it was slightly above the projection.
Thank you for your comment, Deputy Mayor.
It's completely different.
I withdrew that comment. Okay, so I think you're sending the wrong message, and that's why I didn't support that. I believe in all the work that has happened in this organisation to bring this report to us. I believe in the targeted planting, and as the mover stated, there is nothing preventing our engaged community from requesting trees to be planted. That is still an option open to every single resident within the city of Bayswater. If they request it, we will plant it in their property, on their verge. This is really good work, and I really want to thank all of the officers who put this together. We got a briefing, councillors got a briefing on this, and it was so thorough and so considered, and you answered every single question that councillors had. And I'm really proud to support this. Thank you very much. I'll now go the mover to close.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. I'll just keep it really short. I'm obviously moved this. I really am choosing to get trees in the ground with a plan that's balanced, possible, and has the potential to be topped up by the state government when they get their state strategy for planting more trees. So great job, some foresight there from the directors perhaps, but looking forward to some top-up funds from our advocacy as well. So thank you.
I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, didn't you say before that you would move Lim 1 separately?
Oh, I did say that. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Johnson, I know that you're a bit behind. So I am going to move Lim 1 first on its own.
There is a delay in the audio, thank you.
Yeah. So Councillor Johnson, I'm going to move Lim 1 by itself now. So we're just voting on Lim 1. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer and myself. All those against is Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Johnson. That is carried. I'm now putting Lims 2, 3, 4 and 5 to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. So, councillors, that concludes the items that were subject to deputations. We'll now move to consideration of the reports in section 10 that have been withdrawn by councillors. The first one is 10.1.1, annual review of delegations. Nobody's pulled this, but it requires an absolute majority. So can I have a mover and seconder? Moved Councillor Ostrzowski, seconded Councillor Latta. Councillor Ostrzowski.
These delegations are done annually to assist in maintaining good governance and compliance, and we had some information come through from the manager in regards to why these things needed to be repealed or changed. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Latta. Anyone wish to speak against? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, look, I won't support it because of the change to the local planning schemes delegation. I think a shortfall of more than 10 bays in parking in town centres specifically, on top of any previous approved shortfalls, that can be very significant. And I know that's a very topical issue for businesses and residents, specifically in town centres. So I think those issues for that delegation is much more bigger than we used to have. And I think those issues should come to a council meeting. So I can support it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll go the mover to close. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Councillor Johnson. Did you have your hand up?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and myself. All those against is the Deputy Mayor. That is carried. The next item is 10.1.2, appointment of presiding members of committee, appointment of Mayor to Policy Review and Development Committee. No one's pulled this, but it requires an absolute majority. So can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Ostrzowski, seconded. Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrzowski.
We're required to list these names as chairs of these committees. And in terms of the Mayor wanting to be on the Policy Review Development Committee, if she wants to be on the committee, she could be on the committee, so we don't need to do anything about that.
Councillor Maleka.
Nothing further to add.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer and myself. All those against is Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Johnson. That is carried. We now move on to 10.1.3, concept plans for lot 100, 240 Walter Road, West Morley. Councillor Palmer, you pulled this one. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
Yes, I'm moving the officer's recommendation, certainly.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ostrzowski. Councillor Palmer.
Just very briefly, that I feel one of our Morley centres of historic value. This was from, I think it's Robert Hansman, our CEO might remember, through to Les Hansman.
Oh.
So the history is really great. And knowing that there were community members from historic societies actually asking about the history, I'm hoping, though this is just a concept plan at the minute, that as we proceed, that the history for the Les Hansman Centre does get publicised in that building, especially being a library. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ostrzowski.
This is a very exciting step forward, I think, for Morley and the Morley Town Centre. These proposed concept plans for the redevelopment of the Les Hansman Community Centre and the adjoining car park do align with the city's vision for the area. The residential component for this project, or the concept for how residents could be incorporated into the project, is great, and it's absolutely necessary for us to get residents into the town centre in Morley to help activate the town centre. We do have unlimited heights in Morley, so I'm excited to see that any development there could go up to 18 stories. However, there is potential for unlimited. I was in the city last weekend and I had a chance to go up into one of the tall buildings there, and I looked back towards Morley and took some photos. And as I was looking back, I actually imagined what would it be like to see some type of tower coming out from that easterly direction. And as I looked out that way, I thought, what a fantastic landmark opportunity we have for the Les Hansman Centre with some high rise there. So absolutely happy to move this concept forward.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I support this. Just a quick comment. For me, the goal is obviously not just high rises, it is quality development in the town centre that will be appreciated for many generations to come. So it's not just the height. I would like to see something that will be beneficial for everyone. Those who will live in those complexes, those who will visit the library, and those who will visit the town centres. So we are progressing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll go to the mover to close. Councillor Ostaszewski, if you can turn off your microphone.
Yeah, it is very much the centre of Morley with Coventry on one side and Gallery on the other. It tends to be sandwiched in the middle quite comfortably, and we will make good use of the plans coming ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillors, I just have been, the Manager of Governance just drew to my attention that the previous item, 10.1.2, the appointment of presiding members, Lim 1A to E required an absolute majority, and that is the requirement under the most recent reforms of the Local Government Act, that all local governments must appoint presiding members to their committees by an absolute majority of council prior to 1 July 2025. I mistakenly thought we had absolute majority for that, but given that we are still, whilst we are 2 councillors down, our absolute majority is actually 6, not 5. So for LIMS 1A to E, we haven't met absolute majority, being the requirement under the Local Government Act to do so before the 1st of July, prior to the 1st of July, because our next meeting is actually on the 1st of July. So I'm going to seek advice from the Manager of Governance on how we can actually rectify that this evening. I propose that you move the motion. Do you want to say it to...
Through the presiding member, my proposal would be that a councillor or the mayor moves a motion to go back to this item and take the vote again just for Lim 1 items A to E, which could be done together or could be done separately, depending on what the council wants to do.
So I'm going to move that motion as proposed by the Manager of Governance, as seconded by Councillor Eveson. So it's pretty clear, councillors, why we're doing this, is that we're required to appoint the chairs to the committees prior to the 1st of July by absolute majority. So I'm going to put that to the, I'm going to go to the seconder to see if you wish to add anything to that.
Yeah, it's just procedural, so no issue seconding this and supporting this.
So is that what we're voting on? It's just going back to it. So what we're voting on,
We can recast the vote.
we're voting to go
I
back
just
to.
haven't seen this before. Yeah.
We're voting to go back to the item.
Oh, I see.
It's a procedural motion. We're voting to go back to retake the vote. No, just the absolute majority portion. The other vote still counts for the other 2 limbs.
We will still minute the original vote.
The original vote will be minuted. So we have to go back. So I'm moving that procedural motion and seconded. So I'm putting the procedural motion to the vote. All those in favour? That is... Councillor Johnson, are you voting for or against?
Sorry if I'm not quite following. My apologies.
It's unanimous. She did vote. She did. Yeah, I saw her hand. Yeah. It's just because your hand's out of screen sometime, Councillor Johnson. That's why I can't tell. Sorry.
Yeah, my apologies. I think I've got a slight delay.
Okay.
So now we've gone back.
So now we're back to item 10.1.2. just for 1A through to E that require absolute majority?
Sorry, I'm just thinking you should treat it like a revocation motion because you're undoing the decision that you've made. So you need a third of the council to support that motion. So you know how we do the mover plus 3 seconders to revoke the original decision for Lim 1.
Yeah.
Then you can make a new decision.
Okay, so we have to revoke the original decision for Lim 1A to E. We're going to revoke it. I move to revoke it, and
So first of all, you need a motion to revoke, which needs the support of...
Yeah. So the first one we're doing is a revocation motion for Lim 1A to E, and that needs to have at least 1/3 of council supporting the revocation motion for that. So I'm going to move that. Do I need a seconder?
The process here is you get the seconders, the 3.
I need 3 seconders. So that's Councillor Ostaszewski, Councillor Easton and Councillor Maleka. So now we have to vote on revoking that. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. So now we can take the vote on limbs 1A, B, C, D, E. I'll move that motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eason. I'm not going to speak on it. I've already spoke to it. All those in favour? Oh.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, so I'll just go to the seconder. Do you wish to speak?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
No? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just because we are debating the same item twice, obviously the first part is very procedural, no issue with that. Just to explain, I did not support the previous vote on the item just because of Lim 2. I do not support a committee with 7 councillors when we have 9 councillors on council. So I didn't think I would need to explain it. But here you go. So I feel like I need to explain. I think if we have 7 councillors on the policy committee, we better just bring items to the council meeting. So that was my position.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this, Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, because it's actually in the same recommendation, it's just to say that section that they mentioned, 5.10 bracket 4, it really does look as if this is fairly needed. If at a meeting of the council, a local government is to make an appointment to a committee that has or could have a council member as a member, and the mayor or president informs the local government of the mayor or president's wish to be a member of the committee, the local government is to appoint the mayor or president to be a member of the committee. That's fairly important, and I think we should take that into consideration in this vote. I know it's a different limb, but I still think we should remember that before we make any decisions. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, sorry about that, councillors. It is very difficult to remember that we don't have the normal numbers of people around the table. Okay. So the next one is 10.2.1, financial report for period ended 30th of April. This also requires an absolute majority, so I'll be counting with both hands. Do I have a mover for this? 10.2.1, financial report for the period ended 30 April 2025. Do I have a mover? Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Maleka. Deputy Mayor, anything? Councillor Maleka?
Actually, yes. I just wanted to note that I was really pleased to see in the report that there was a reallocation of funds to support the management and storage and curating and all of that of the city's art collection. because the collection is a valuable asset that we tend to forget is an asset of ours, and it needs maintaining just like any other of our assets. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, the next one is 10.2.4, Enterprise Network Replacement, RFQ 366. Again, nobody has pulled this, but this also requires an absolute majority. Do I have a mover? Councillor Sazowski, seconded. Councillor Palmer, Councillor Sazowski, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor Palmer?
Anything to do with IT is very necessary, and I'm very pleased to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so then we move on to 10.3.1, Tender 27, 2024, Parks Irrigation and Renewal Plan, Groundwater Reduction. Councillor Palmer, you've pulled this one, and I just want to remind you and all councillors that there is a confidential attachment. So if you wish to refer to anything in that attachment, we will have to go behind closed doors. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'm moving the officer's recommendation, but I'd like to just ask a couple of phase questions which are not necessarily confidential.
Okay, so we'll get a seconder first, and then you're able to ask your questions. So do I have a seconder? Councillor Eason. Councillor Palmer, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wondered if there was a timing on the completion of phase 1, because I couldn't actually see it in the officers' reports. Do we have anything there?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, there is a timeframe in the report. I just need to try and find it.
So I was actually seeking when the findings will come up on the phase 1.
I think it's at the end of the summary, Luke.
Couldn't see it. It's got inclusion. Hasn't got one. Couldn't see it here.
So it's 24 weeks is the timeframe from awarding the contract, and then the results from that work will be reported to council.
So when do we actually receive the findings? That's what I want to know. In 6 months' time, or, you know?
I'll go to the director.
24 weeks.
24 weeks, yeah, 6 months.
That's when we'll get the findings from phase 1?
That's right.
And phase 2?
Depends on how much work we provide to the contractor going forwards.
Okay, thank you.
Did you wish to speak to the item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Eason, anything?
No, nothing.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. That's unanimous. Do I have to say by those in the room? It's unanimous by those in the room. Okay, so we now move on to 10.3.2, which is Tender 05-2025 Morley-Naranda Recreation Club Change Room Upgrade. Nobody's pulled this, but there is an interest, so move Councillor Eason, seconded Councillor Palmer. Councillor Eason.
Oh, probably just great to see this finally coming through. It's been some time, a couple of elections anyway. All good, thank you.
Councillor Palmer.
About the same, thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So, councillors, that was all the items in section 10 that have been pulled. So can I have someone to move to adopt the remaining items in section 10 en bloc? Moved by Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Maleka. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll now move to notices of motion. We have 11.1, Councillor Johnson, release of confidential resolution related to the EMRC. Is this confidential? Is this confidential?
Most likely the debate will be the issue.
Sorry, is that question to me? Oh,
No, I'm just seeking.
advice on that.
The manager of governance has advised that it's likely debate around this around this item is going to require to go into confidential. So,
We'll need to reference the confidential attachment, which would mean it would need to go behind.
which means we'll need to go behind closed doors for this. Do we go behind closed
Can
doors
I
now?
propose that?
Move that into the item 14, if that would help.
Okay, so are you moving a procedural motion to move this under section 14?
Sure.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Latta. I'm not going, do you want to say anything about your procedural motion, Councillor Johnson?
No.
Okay, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. So we'll now discuss that under section 14. So that takes us to 11.2, Councillor Latta, dual naming of Barton Park with Malgamonga. Go ahead. Do you want to read it out?
Sure. The motion is that the Chief Executive Officer undertakes the formal process to consider dual naming Barton Park with Malgamungup.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta.
Thank you. This motion will allow for the first official recognition of an original Whadjuk name for a place within the city of Bayswater. This week, it's Reconciliation Week. I didn't realise when I put forward this motion that it would be debated in Reconciliation Week, but I think it's very appropriate. This motion that I've put forward tonight represents a significant step forward for our district. The city has just undergone a place naming project culminating in the exhibition Birrilin Cardigan, which the Mayor helped to launch just a few weeks ago. This project has enriched our understanding of the history and names of 5 significant places within the city of Bayswater, which includes Malgamungup, confirmed through this process as the Noongar name for the area in Maylands, which is largely covered by Barton Park. This name is well known by the local community. It is used in signage that is at least 10 years old at one of the park playgrounds, and it is used by members of the community. As the report mentions, the city will engage with the community as part of the next steps should this motion succeed today. I urge you to support it. A lack of support for actions to drive reconciliation has real consequences for our relationships with Aboriginal people as councillors and as the city. It impacts people. The community is ready for this, and I believe it is time to give the first name of Malgamungup the respect it deserves. Recognising original names and co-naming of places within the city is a key outcome in our Reconciliation Action Plan. And now, at the conclusion of the place naming project, it is the right time for us to proceed with this next phase, helping to foster understanding, truth-telling and respect for Noongar history. It is time, and I believe we are ready.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we're very fortunate to have good historical values for our Indigenous Aboriginal lifestyle in Bayswater. When you look at Lightning Swamp, we've had wonderful histories there with special trees, spiritual trees. We also have that at Clawton Reserve, where the Mayor and councillors put the spirit phone there with the permission of Auntie May and everybody, and they showed us where the scar trees were and so forth. Very important. And here we now have Malgamungup, and that is just wonderful. We've also developed the book, which I'm not sure if everyone's got, the Blue Book of Names in Bayswater. So I'm hoping that will flourish within the offices and within our councillors. I'm not sure if you've all got one, but it's certainly well worth doing. So I think there's a lot of encouragement and excitement. We also have our own art awards now that takes place. So we really are giving a good example of what other good local governments should do. And I think this is one of the first steps and great steps to take. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll just put that straight to the vote then. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Easton, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson and myself. All those against? Councillor Ostaszewski. That is carried. Okay, so we'll now move on to item 12, which is questions from members without notice. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Easton.
Sorry, Councillor Johnson. Just one for the city. There was an issue with a dog at Wells Square. I just wanted to find out if the city, or what's happened since that time. There's I think a couple in quick succession. So I just wanted to get an update if we could on some issues there.
I'll go to the director.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Eveson, for the question. A report has been received by the city at Weld Square Reserve. In response, the reserve has been attended to on multiple occasions by the city's officers, specifically the 21st, the 22nd and 23rd of May between 4:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m, as well as a visit on Sunday, the 25th of May at 10:30 a.m. These patrols also included direct engagement with reserve users, particularly dog walkers. During these interactions, officers distributed brochures on responsible dog ownership and offered dog leads to support compliance and education efforts. Regular reserve visitors reported an increase in new users to the reserve and expressed that they were pleased to see city officers patrolling the area. All dogs observed during these patrols appeared to be well behaved and social. As part of a recent signage audit, the city has installed additional dogs on lead signage at the playground to improve awareness of dog-related rules and enhance overall compliance. To broaden the reach of our education program, officers will begin conducting patrols at different times of the day to connect with the wider range of reserve users and continue to promote responsible dog ownership, and patrols are scheduled to continue until the 4th of June 2025. I would say I encourage community members to report irresponsible dog ownership to the city by contacting our range of services or by email. Thank you.
Thank you, very thorough, beautiful. Just another one, and it was alluded to a bit tonight. I just wanted to get some facts. I did see the news articles just regards to the traffic incident that was at Watley Crescent in Bayswater. Does the city have anything they can share regarding that one?
I'll go to the CEO.
Sorry, Councillor Eveson, I was just reading another item. Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, just regarding Watley Crescent, there was an incident there at the crossing that I'm aware of. Just wanted to get some information around what occurred. What does the city sort of, obviously it's only just happened very recently, but is there anything that sort of immediately happened as part of that?
Yeah, the city's made contact with a couple of residents there. One of them was the president of the P&C and also another concerned resident. We've undertaken that we will conduct an on-site meeting with them in the next couple of weeks. That's been scheduled. I'm not aware of the date, but the Director of Infrastructure and myself will be going out there to have a meeting around the school times to have a look. But some of the things that we've done there previously is installed a series of traffic calming devices. Speed humps, as you would know, that road has gone from a dual carriageway down to a single carriageway. A safe active street has already been implemented along Leake Street, creating safe cycling environments, and the city has also successfully advocated for main roads to have a speed reduction along there from 60 down to 40 as well. The crossing, we understand at the time, was manned. And we are advocating with them, the school crossing division, to actually look at the start times so that that can occur a little bit earlier than when the incident occurred. So when we have the on-site meeting, we'll have a little bit more information then, and we'll be able to provide you with some further details.
Thank you so much. Cool. I've just got one more after that, or did you want it? Is it linked to that one? Look, should be pretty quick. It's only a road safety one, just about McGillivray Ave. So I just wanted to, I've been chasing this one for a little while. Just have we heard anything more regards to project timeframe, engagement, anything about McGillivray Ave, the project that Main Roads are undertaking?
Through the chair, so detailed design is meant to occur in 25-26 financial year. Part of that process leading into that is that we know that Main Roads will undertake some consultation regarding what the works are and how the intersection will look like. Apart from that, we haven't got any further detail, but we will chase further information from Main Roads when we meet with them next.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I have a few questions about the Snap Send Solve app that the city uses. The first question, does the city send a response to each person that submit Snap through the app?
I'll go to the director.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I understand that the service area responds to the customer. In the past, we had sent responses from the customer relations team, but that was duplicating responses, so we tried to streamline that, and that should now be sent from the service area that attends to the work request.
So, sorry, Director, so when you're saying service area, what do you refer to?
For example, if it's a tree maintenance request that's sent through, then the tree maintenance team would respond to the customer.
So from what I heard, each person that submits an issue through the app receives a response?
That is the expectation.
Sorry, can I just add to that though? There are some things that you. Is it true that there are some things like abandoned trolleys that go to Coles and Woolworths directly and don't come to the City of Bayswater, or does it all come to the City of Bayswater?
Madam Mayor, I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay.
I know the answer, no. So if there are issues that are raised with Main Roads, with the Public Transport Authority, with Woolies or Coles, so that goes directly to them.
It does.
Yes, it does.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
so
you choose.
that answer is only for City of Bayswater.
I'm talking about only City of Bayswater issues.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Yes, and
that.
from what my understanding, a lot do not get responses from the city. So maybe the city can take it on notice and check it. And specifically the percentage, I'm interested in the percentage, how many, and I understand through the app, you can actually find out how many.
Can take that on notice for you.
And also a follow-up, when the city does solve or resolves an issue raised through the app, does the city update the app to mark that it was solved? Because I know there is an option to clear it, and I know some local governments I checked do tick it, so residents can know it's done.
Madam Mayor, I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Councillor Latta.
Yeah, sorry. I just heard you say something about speed bumps in your response. Sorry, to the CEO. I heard the CEO mention speed bumps in the response to Councillor Everson, and I just wonder, is that on Leake Street, I assume?
I'll go to the CEO to respond.
So my information that I have, Councillor, is on Murray Street, Armandbury Street, Nabhop Street, as well as Robert Street as well, plus the entry statements on all side roads entering the area.
Okay. Can I ask a question about whether Watley Crescent in that section between Garrett Road and King William Street is eligible for road treatment programs like the LCURS program?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, Watley Crescent's considered an arterial road, so LCURS would not apply to Watley Crescent. It applies to local residential streets, the local access streets, the lower order roads, but not a road like Watley Crescent.
So is Watley Crescent under the responsibility of the City of Bayswater or Main Roads?
City of Bayswater.
Okay, and are there other programs to seek funding for road treatments for arterial roads?
Through the chair, generally we don't put road treatments like speed humps and chicanes and things like that don't get put on arterial roads because the main purpose of arterial roads is to move volumes of traffic efficiently through the area. So you wouldn't normally put that type of treatment on that type of road.
Interesting. Is King William Street also an arterial road?
That's correct.
Okay. Have we not had discussions around road treatments on King William Street though?
Probably a different type of road. Although it's an arterial road, that's what it serves, that purpose at the moment. If we talk about putting those sorts of treatments, then we're starting to talk about a different purpose for the road going into the future.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Basically, we've had...
I also have some questions.
Yep, no, I've seen.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank Georgia, go first.
No, go ahead.
So it's just a quick one. I'm surprised that none of us were informed of these two incidences, and I think we should be informed for a matter of courtesy as councillors to know what's happening in the whole of Bayswater. If there's something that's happened, we used to get these incident reports, whether it was a dog bite in a park or something more serious. Not that isn't serious. And I think we should still get those reports, please.
So I'm going to answer that and then go to the CEO. So I wasn't advised of apparently a second, there was a deputation that referred to a second child being in an accident. That's the first I've heard of that. And the only time that I was advised of the accident on Watley Crescent was when I received the same emails from the concerned resident as all councillors were copied into. So I wasn't received anything formal. So I'll go to the CEO.
Sorry, just to respond to that, I wasn't taking it personally or anything like that. I'm just saying generally, the dog bite to me is just as important. So we need to know about that. Thank you.
I'll go to the CEO.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, just in relation to the incident, likewise, I was aware of the one on Watley, but I wasn't aware of the other one. And as the Mayor indicated, we prepared some responses, the Director and myself, and that information went out to all councillors through the Mayor's email last Friday. But it's if there is serious matters, we would ordinarily let councillors know, but if you want to get into the detail of knowing if there has been a dog attack or a dog bite within your area, then I'll take direction from council. We can send out updates and that, but those incidents are unfortunately quite common. But if you let us know what level of detail you want, then we can certainly take that on notice.
So thank you very much for that. We've had them before. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you very much. Yeah, likewise, on Watley Crescent, we have a safe active street which came with traffic lights. Those traffic lights or controlled crossing on Watley Crescent were delayed. We were told by PTA that the road would be safer and quieter with less traffic, and what we have is a bottleneck with extremely poor visibility. Really, unfortunately, we've had an incident now that we all would have obviously liked to avoid. We definitely don't want to see anything like that again, and certainly want to see this as an opportunity to improve things. I did see Main Roads folks down there this morning having a look, but I am really interested in the signalised crossing that was meant to be there. Can I have an update on that, please?
I'll go to the Director. Or
through the chair, so might recall that there was a resolution of council some time ago to pursue a signalised pedestrian crossing, or at least involve Main Roads to have a look at it and see whether they'd fund the analysis and potentially the installation of the crossing. There was a letter sent to Main Roads a while back. At the time, Main Roads, it was agreed with Main Roads to wait until the train station works were complete and the traffic around the area stabilises. Because as you can imagine, with the construction works, the traffic was not in its normal patterns around that area. So It was agreed to hold off until the traffic stabilised. We have fired off a letter to Main Roads to reactivate that work again. So that letter went out last week, and we are now waiting for Main Roads to respond to us. And we're going to continue to engage with them in terms of getting the analysis done and work out what the best treatment is there, whether that's a signalised pedestrian crossing or whether there's something else that could be better.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask a follow-up to that, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah, is there anything that council or community can do to support the advocacy for the installation of a signalised crossing, please?
I'll go to the CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, as the Director indicated, we've advocated through Main Roads, and it's heartening to hear, Councillor Johnson, that if you saw them out there today, then hopefully that they were in response to the letter that we sent through to them last week. In terms of additional advocacy, I've been in discussions with the local member, Dan Bull, in relation to this matter. He has been invited along to the on-site meeting that we've scheduled in the next couple of weeks so that we can push and advocate for state government assistance to resolve this. And the Mayor and I have also got a meeting with the local member, Dan Bull, on Friday of this week, and we've listed it as an agenda item to advocate as well.
Okay, thank you. So to clarify, is there anything further council or the community can do?
Community can write to the local member.
Yeah. So through you, Madam Mayor, I would suggest that local community members can advocate through their local member of parliament and also advocate to Main Roads, similar to what council's currently doing.
Okay, and to Main Roads, is that through the minister or to Main Roads directly?
You can send that through the minister, through the local member, or to Main Roads directly as well.
If it goes to the minister, that will be sent to Main Roads.
Thank you. All right, I have another question, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Last week, on the 22nd of May, in the Legislative Council, a daily notice paper was issued, and one of the items on it was a motion for disallowance at the City of Bayswater's Keeping and Control of Cats Amendment, Local Law 2024. A disallowance motion was moved by the Honourable Steve Martin. I'm just wondering if I can get some explanation on what that means for us.
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, so our understanding of the process from here is that that motion of disallowance will be put tomorrow. And then after that, there are 17 days. So that happens automatically, is my understanding of that process. It's the motion to disallow won't be debated at that point. It will just, it's a procedural thing, and a notice is given. And then within 17 sitting days, the Legislative Council will consider and debate that item. We've been advised by the clerk for the Legislative Council to check the order of business tomorrow evening after the motion of disallowance has been put, and then that will give us an indication of when it's likely that that item will be debated. So 17 sitting days for Legislative Council takes us into late August, early September. So it might not be until September that the item is actually debated, but we should know more tomorrow evening.
Sorry, can I ask a follow-up? Will we advise information be provided to council when that's available?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, yes, a memo will be sent out to council advising of that information once we have it.
Thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Just a follow-up question on this issue. If the motion for disallowance is supported in Parliament tomorrow, does that mean, and there will be public debate in Parliament on this specific issue, does that mean that we are not bound anymore by confidentiality around this issue? Because if parliamentarians are going to discuss this issue publicly, if we get inquiries, are we able to, from tomorrow evening, if supported by Parliament, to discuss and explain what everything that happened behind closed doors? Otherwise, there is an issue here that they are able to speak on issues that we decided, and we are still bound by the city on the same issue.
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, I'm going to answer this question carefully. Councillors are able to make public information that is already in the public realm, but you are still bound by confidentiality that might apply for reasons of legal advice given or information that you've received that has been marked as confidential by a third party. You would not be able to, you would only be able to talk about, I guess, what is in the public realm.
So if it's already in the public, then you can comment and discuss what's been made public. That's what you're trying to say.
That is my understanding, yes.
Thank you. So just to clarify, so members of parliament will be able to quote confidential letters that we sent to the standing committee, but we will not be able to speak about them, because that is what's sent to them, and I'm assuming that information will be shared with all members of parliament. That's my assumption. They need to vote on this issue. So where they will be able to speak about this publicly, maybe the manager can take it on notice and find out about this process. It's the first time that we are doing something like this.
I'll go to the CEO.
Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I think we will take that on notice, Deputy Mayor. I mean, the notice of disallowance, as the Manager of Governance indicated, will get more information tomorrow. I have been in conversation with our local member as well in relation to this to clarify what that process is. Once we're familiar and get it clarified, then we'll issue a memorandum and then we'll be able to answer more detailed questions.
Any other questions, councillors? No? We'll move on to item 13, new business of an urgent nature, and there is none this evening. So we move on to item 14. We have three confidential items this evening. So can I please have a mover and seconder?
Just before you do that, could Councillor Johnson just confirm that she can maintain confidentiality
Before we go behind, so, okay. Councillor Johnson, before we go behind closed doors, or can you please confirm that you can maintain confidentiality in your location?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I just had to duck out and recharge my phone, but yeah.
So, okay, that's enough for you? Okay. Can I have a mover and seconder to go behind closed doors? Move Councillor Easton, seconded Councillor Palmer. All those in favour? That's unanimous. All good? I'll now close the meeting at 10:13 p.m. Thank you, councillors.